Can you imagine creating passive income, whether you're working, sleeping, or playing with your kids in USDC using Aerodrome and the Autopilot.xyz? My name is Mike with Crypto Ease with Mike, and in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how you go from Coinbase, transferring your AERO or even buying AERO on the Aerodrome DEX, and then locking up your AeroDrome, locking up your AERO into something called veAERO. That's vote escrowed AERO, which is eligible to earn your portion of the fees and rewards and so on for liquidity pools on the Aerodrome. But that has complexity to it. We don't have time to monitor the news and changes in all of those liquidity pools. So we're going to use another project called the Autopilot.xyz and collect biweekly USDC paychecks with their vote delegation capabilities. Now, if you stay with me till the end, I'm also going to show you a secret marketplace. Well, it's not really secret, but it's like a bonus, where you can actually go and sell that NFT. So my name is Mike. I'm the host and creator of Crypto Ease with Mike community on School and also this YouTube channel. I started with crypto in May of 2020. I started with $100 in Bitcoin, and less than a year later, I had a portfolio of over $500,000. And, you know, along the way, in these last several years, since that last bull run, I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars of mistakes. I could have been, you know, well into the millions by now. But, you know, I got rug pulled, I got scammed, I had all kinds of challenges along the way, and I didn't have a coach by my side. And so that's what I brought to the Crypto Ease with my community and also to my YouTube. Feel free to ask any of your questions here in the comments. Before we get started, let me show you an outline of what we're going to do today. And so this is our DeFi journey here with AERO into veAERO and how we're going to print those USDC paychecks. Now, the beautiful thing about that added piece with the project called the Autopilot is that we delegate our voting power with our veAERO NFTs to them. And they'll go ahead and do the whole voting for us on the best liquidity pools, and they're just going to pay us out in USDC. That's a beautiful thing from a couple of angles. Well, number one, from a tax perspective, it simplifies your life because you're depositing a veAERO NFT, so you have the AERO asset, and then you're getting paid out in USDC. So you're not getting all little bits and pieces of different rewards of different liquidity pools and so on Aerodrome. If you don't understand what I mean, stick with me. I'm going to show you exactly on the Aerodrome. And once we've locked up our NFT on the Aerodrome, we're going to then go ahead over to the Autopilot and deposit that NFT and show you how you're going to get those rewards paid out to you. So just recapping, we're going to go from Coinbase, transfer our AERO over to the Aerodrome DEX. On the Aerodrome DEX, we're going to go lock that up into an NFT, and I'm actually going to show you something interesting there, so how you can merge your NFTs, and then we're going to bring our final NFT across to the Autopilot.xyz. Now, a little quick tip. Recently, the Autopilot updated their minimum required NFT size from 400 veAERO to 1,000 veAERO. I was in a coaching call with Mama Julie, and we learned this the hard way, so we had to basically take her a couple of NFTs and join them together. And today I'm actually going to do that as well as part of this video so that you can see what it takes not only to deposit an initial NFT, but later on when you come back to earn your rewards and create a bigger NFT, how you can do that easily. And you can be in control every step of the way. And then just go and deposit that NFT on the Autopilot.xyz and sit back and earn your rewards every 2 weeks. Come back and check on that, maybe in your weekly crypto habits, like we encourage you to do in our community. Let's crack on. First, let's head on over to Coinbase, and you're going to see this is my Crypto Ease Coinbase wallet. And here I've got a bunch of Aerodrome. Now I've got 562, which, you know, is not enough to actually go ahead and create a new NFT under the new requirements for the Autopilot. They want 1,000 veAERO. And so what we're going to do here is I'm going to send this amount over, and then in the Crypto Ease wallet, you're going to see that now this might be a bit tiny on your screen, but I do actually have those NFTs here already. And this is where we're going to see them here. You'll see there's my 2 NFTs already. Now, don't worry about that complexity, because what I'm trying to do is show you the default flow of how to do this the first time by yourself. But along the way, I'm going to show you a couple bonus tips that you are going to run into eventually. And this is going to help some of the pros as well out there. If you've never joined 2 NFTs together on Aerodrome Finance, you're definitely going to want to watch this. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and transfer my AERO over. So I'm just going to go back here because this is the easiest way I know. On Coinbase, I'm going to say send. And over here, I've already set up the Crypto Ease with Mike wallet. I have a couple wallets. And here I'm going to go ahead and say, I want to send over my AERO. So I'm going to go ahead and send over the max amount of AERO. It's 562. It's going on the base chain. Always pay attention to the network that you're sending out on, okay? One of my gold clients made this mistake the other day. It's a very common mistake. It's easy to do. And in the user interface of Coinbase or on your preferred centralized exchange account like Binance or Kraken, make sure that you're sending to the correct network. And it's very easy to send this mistakenly over to the Ethereum network. All right, let's continue. So we're going to go ahead and say send now. I've already done my testing. One other added tip for you as a regular crypto user or a new crypto user in DeFi is always be testing. Always send small amounts before you send your big amount. That way you get to see all the full process flow. You know all the moving pieces, whether it's your DeFi wallet, your centralized account. It's very important to always be testing. Now I've kind of shortcut that here today for this video for you, but I've already been testing this, so I know it works. Okay, that got sent. Now it doesn't mean that it got received, but we can go and check how fast was it. Did we actually receive that yet? And no, that hasn't quite refreshed. We'll go here, look at the, let's see, my AERO wallet, and no, we're not quite seeing that yet. So it's going to be here in just a second. Another way you can check this inside your Rabi wallet, which is the one I'm using. Oh, there we go. We just received our additional AERO right there. Okay, what that means, guys, is we're now good to go over to Aerodrome Finance. So we sent AERO from my Coinbase account, the Crypto Ease Coinbase account, across to our DeFi wallet. And in this case, I'm using Rabi wallet, and I recommend Rabi and Phantom. Here's a link to one of my wallet videos, and check that out. If you haven't set up a DeFi wallet before, that's going to walk you through the process. Now, personally, as a side note, I recommend Rabi wallet for DeFi degens and people that are very active in DeFi, and I recommend Phantom wallet for people that are new. It's a slightly easier user interface, and also a lot of people are going to say, but Mike, why don't you recommend MetaMask? Well, guys, MetaMask is awesome, but they changed their terms of service a couple years ago, and they actually monitor your IPs for all your transactions, and that means you lose all your privacy with MetaMask. And that's why I personally stepped away from MetaMask, and now I use Rabi and Phantom. And sometimes we just need to update our approaches. We need to use new tools and stay in touch with what's going on in the marketplace. You can always just subscribe to my channel here, and I'm going to update you as we go. All right, guys, here we are on Aerodrome Finance. Now remember, the steps that we're walking through here is we're going to go from Aerodrome, we're going to lock up our AERO into veAERO, into an NFT, and then we're going to go ahead and deposit or lock up that NFT on a platform called the Autopilot. So this is the Autopilot here. We're not quite there yet. We're going to flip back over to Aerodrome, and remember, I just transferred over a bunch of AERO from Coinbase over to the Aerodrome. And you'll see I've got these existing two NFTs right here. Now, these NFTs no longer meet the minimum requirements for the Autopilot, where we're going to land up. And so that new minimum is now 1,000. And the great thing is, this is going to create an opportunity for me to show you how to merge your NFTs. And so what we're going to do is, because these two together are not going to add up to the minimum 1,000, I'm going to go ahead and create a new NFT using the lock mechanism right here on aerodrome.finance. And oops, something went wrong. Let's refresh, and that should work itself out. Okay, cool. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and click Create Lock. You don't have to wait for all that on-chain data to load, but I've got a balance of 676 AERO right here in the Crypto Ease ETH wallet. I'm going to go ahead and say, on a percentage basis, I'm going to go ahead and give me 100% in veAERO. I want to lock that up. And another requirement for the Autopilot is it will automatically create a 4-year lock for your NFT. Now, usually I'd worry about that, and I might not recommend that to newbies, but the beautiful thing here is that we do have that marketplace I'm going to show you as a bonus at the end of the video, where you can sell your NFT. So even though you're locking up your AERO, you're locking it up as veAERO inside an NFT, okay? You are able to sell that later if you need to. And because we have that available marketplace with liquidity, that's one of the reasons that I would actually recommend this particular project to novices and not just pros. So I'm going to go ahead and create this lock right now. Say create lock. And you'll see here's my very low fee on Base Chain. And this confirms my access to my veAERO. And then I'm going to go ahead and confirm the lock amount. And I have created my VE NFT. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and click Manage Locks. What happens here is this takes me back to the dashboard. But the challenge here is that the dashboard has not read the blockchain, right? So I need to refresh it so that it rereads the blockchain. And you'll see when it says loading locks, it's reading the blockchain for that information. Basically, this app is like a browser of the blockchain. Now you'll see we've got 3 NFTs all together here. My most recent one is this one right here, number 110783. What I want to do is I want to merge these all together. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and try to merge into this one. And I'm going to see if it works. Here we go. This is a user interface issue I've noticed, by the way, is that because of my dark background and my preference for dark backgrounds, especially with my eyes and my glasses and spending so much time on the computer, is that this UI doesn't exactly work here. But I know that it does that, and so I'm going to go ahead and say merge these two. It's going to go ahead and claim all those rewards. You saw that big red warning. You should read that warning. I'm just skipping over it for this video. Going to go ahead and confirm my lock merge. And it says, hey, my locks have been merged. So now when we click Manage Locks and go back to the dashboard, and remember, need a refresh so that we read what's actually been written on the blockchain, you're going to see I've only got 2 locks. And then I'm going to go one step further. Oh, we've got 1,100. So what we see is now I've got 2 locks, and I've got one for 1,101 AERO, and that's locked up for the 4 years. So that meets the minimum requirements of the Autopilot. So I'm going to go ahead and get started now, jumping over to the Autopilot. Let's just circle back on our roadmap here and show you that I have locked my AERO inside an NFT, and now we're going to head over to the Autopilot. So now I'm refreshing the Autopilot so it reads the blockchain and it'll see my new NFTs. And when I go ahead and click deposit, what you're going to notice here is I want you to see this contrast. You'll see one of my NFTs meets the minimum requirement, the new minimum requirement of 1,000 veAERO. And I have one that's 406. That doesn't qualify, and that's why we see this no here. It says, hey, the minimum deposit per lock is 1,000. Nobody says, well, it used to be 400, but that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and select here. You click this checkbox, and then you need to do an approval, just like anything in crypto and DeFi. You want to provide that approval for your DeFi wallet. You're always doing things that are permission-based. And so I'm going to grant my permission to go ahead and select that VE NFT. And it's thinking. And my rewards are estimated to be about $4 a week. Okay, now in their approvals, we're going to check out the terms. So they do have terms. You should go read those. They're also showing that your NFT is going to be included in the near voting cycle for max rewards, which is wonderful. And I'm going to say, yes, I do understand that by depositing my NFT lock into the Autopilot, that my lock will be extended to a 4-year max lock period. And that gives them the maximum voting power when I create that lock. And probably should have covered that when I created the lock in the first place. But if you have any questions on that, just hit me up in the comments on the YouTube video or in the community, no problem at all. Go ahead and do a deposit. And now it's going to ask again for my approval, sign the transaction, and that's a whole 2 cents on the base chain. Isn't that lovely compared to Ethereum? Oh, I'm hoping it completes soon. There we go. There's my processing my deposit. I mean, it shows that big slider, but it's already done, right? Okay, so this screen says, yes, we're locked up, and I'm potentially going to earn those rewards. Now, the cool thing about the Autopilot, if you've never used it before, is they have this section here called the APR check. And if you know the amount of veAERO that you're depositing, you can go ahead and put it in here. Now, I know that NFT was 1,101 veAERO. And today that's worth $631 at today's AERO price. And what they're showing is that Now they do round that down, so that's why it shows $3, not $3.97. On a weekly basis, about $3 or $4. On a monthly basis, about $17, and annually about $206. And so what do you notice here is at the current rates, my investment of $631 is going to earn me about $200. And that price is going to vary, right? It's going to go up and down with the marketplace. But there's a couple cool things happening right now. At this point of the cycle, AERO is at a really, really low price. How do we get our money? Well, the beautiful thing about the Autopilot is that it's a very simple user interface. You've got your dashboard, you can deposit and withdraw, but then when you're ready to go and claim your earnings, you head on over here to the earn window, and it's going to allow you to go ahead and claim this. I just did this before. You'll see my reward history here, and it scrolls down. Now we can go ahead and go check that on Base Scan Explorer if you want, and I'll just click on this. This is more for the advanced folks that are looking to understand all of the behind the scenes information related to your transactions on Base, and not just with the Autopilot and not just with Aerodrome, but that's a very helpful tool to interact directly with those smart contracts if you like. All right, let's just circle back a second here and walk us through. We went from Coinbase, we transferred AERO across to Aerodrome, and we went ahead and locked that up into an NFT, and then we deposited that NFT on Autopilot. But also, Autopilot has a new minimum of 1,000 veAERO, and I had a couple of existing NFTs that were below that minimum threshold, which I withdrew on purpose to help show you guys that in the video of how we merged those NFTs together. We deposited our AERO into an NFT, which changed it into veAERO, essentially the same coin, but with a vote escrow wrapper around it, a smart contract that controls that and gives us voting power. We then get rewards from that voting power on all of the liquidity pools in Aerodrome. Now, one, we can do that ourselves. You can go and vote on liquidity pools yourself in Aerodrome, and I'll show you that right here. Click on liquidity in Aerodrome, and that's where you're going to see all of the pools. Currently 2,230 pools, but each of these pools has differing rewards. So for example, in this pool, we're going to see that there's fees and all of that kind of stuff, but the underlying tokens and the rewards are all different. So what that means is when you go to vote with your NFT in order to influence liquidity flows and also to get those rewards, is they can be differing, right? And so what happens then is using a service like the Autopilot allows us to get all of our rewards paid out in USDC, which is a really nice tax benefit for folks, especially like myself, where you're depositing one token, you're earning the rewards, and you're just being paid out in one single stablecoin. You don't have to worry about all differing rewards and incentives and all that kind of stuff. And so just bringing it back to our diagram right here is we deposited that NFT on the Autopilot, and we said we deposited 1,101 veAERO in that NFT, and we're going to get paid out in USDC. And that's the benefit of the combination of the veAERO governance token on Aerodrome tied up into an NFT, which we're not going to see now. Do you see how that bigger NFT is gone? The bigger NFT is gone because we've delegated that across to the Autopilot. So we've assigned that voting power to the Autopilot. They represent our voting power. They club it all together in a big amount, and then they go and earn those rewards for us and pay us out. And including any rebases and after fees, we're going to be earning around about 17% today. The percentage varies. It's been recently between sort of 15-16% here, as high as 35-40%, and that varies epoch to epoch. That's entirely okay. We love this project. If you do love Aerodrome, then you're going to love this approach. And so the bonus part, let's get into that. There is a marketplace called vexy.fi. We can trade our veAERO NFTs as well as our veAERO NFTs. We can trade these all day long on this market. This can be a really cool place to buy basically veAERO at a discount, because people want to get out of their NFTs, and so they offer a small discount so that they can sell them and remain liquid. And what that allows you to do as an investor is you can buy AERO on the Aerodrome DEX or anywhere else, and then you can lock that up into an NFT, but you can get a small discount if you go and buy other people's NFTs. And you'll see that some of these are super small. Here you're going to notice in this window, if I toggle the locked amount, you'll see you can buy NFTs as large as over 500,000 veAERO. And this person or wallet is offering a 10% discount for you to buy that. If you've got 286,000 USD, that's awesome. You can go and use that to buy that. But otherwise, if you're looking at smaller amounts, you could come in here and buy up these smaller amounts, merge them all together into the minimum of 1,000. And here you'll see that there's 1,000, for example. So it's going to cost you about $550 to get into a position, an NFT that's large enough to go ahead and lock up on the Autopilot and earn that USDC. Okay, so you'll notice that under my portfolios on Vexy, it'll list the currently accessible NFTs. Remember, I locked up my other NFT with the Autopilot, and so that's been assigned over to them. It's not going to show up in my wallet. I still control access to it by withdrawal. But these are the current NFTs. I could go and sell this NFT if I want, and Vexy will make an instant offer to me. Now, you can list it yourself in the marketplace at the discount you want, but if you need liquidity today, if you need that liquidity fast, then you'll notice that Vexy is offering me 360 AERO for my existing 406. And so it's at a slight discount, right? But if I need liquidity, I can sell that immediately. So that's the opportunity here with the Vexy.fi marketplace. Super positive, love this. All right, guys, that covers the whole video. Just as a refresher, we went from Coinbase to Aerodrome, bought our NFT, deposited our NFT in Autopilot, and then I showed you the bonus, Vexy.fi, where you can sell your NFTs. Now, this is all included in this guide that I created right here for this video. If you would like a copy of this guide with all the steps, go ahead and just go ahead and give me the AERO guide in a YouTube comment, and I will give you a link for that. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, check out this Aerodrome playlist. Thanks for joining me here on Crypto Ease with Mike.